Aperture is often perceived as a light control instrument and a background blur generation tool, but one quality is rarely discussed. Your lens aperture is in fact an attention instrument. More than anything, it controls attention. It decides on behalf of your viewer how much attention they spend on one part of the frame and how much they spend on another. When you look at a photograph shot at f1.2 and feel that small jolt of excitement, what you're actually responding is not the blur, it's the clarity, how cleanly you can perceive one thing without nothing around it competing for your attention. We're not used to seeing anything that way, and that is why it excites us so much. Having a headshot of someone with his eyes fully in focus and the rest falling into a nice blurred background, it's truly magical. It makes people beautiful. You see, what I've learned over the recent decade working with visual art is that attention is the most valuable currency. If you look at most of the algorithms out there, they're all fighting for your attention, and they try to keep you in their system for as long as possible. When we consume visual content, we mostly are using our eyes. They decide if that is engaging and interesting enough to explore further. If you look at a photo from attention point of view, you will find that the stronger photographs that engage the viewer, they keep his attention, while the weak ones struggle to initially engage him and he simply passes by. That is how photography has been judged today by the algorithms. If it's good at holding the viewer attention, the algorithm flags it as interesting and shows it to more people. So how does that viral attention holding quality of a photograph connects to aperture? If we go even deeper into the attention rabbit hole, we will find that when the viewer stumbles on a photograph, he only has 100% of attention to spend on it. Every element that is in the frame will eat a small percentage of that attention. Your subject, the background, the other objects, the lines, the textures, the bright spots, they're all deciding factor if the viewer will stay or not. And aperture is one of the instruments you use to control how that attention gets spent. It even decides how many elements are going to compete for it. If you use a low aperture and blur the background, the details behind your area of focus will get stripped away, and that part will not require any attention, leaving most of it for your subject. If you use a higher aperture value and keep everything sharp, every layer in the frame will be visible, which makes every element now bidding for the viewer's attention at once. And that is what makes aperture so much more than just sharp vs blurry. It's a decision about what part of the image is going to get heard and how strongly. Look at this photograph. These are two boys standing on their boats. There is enough foreground element showing that there are boats there, and we can also see the city behind, which gives us more of a sense of place. What do you think is the aperture here? Is it f16? Is it f8? Or maybe f1.4? Before I answer that question, let's speak about intention. What is my main objective here? Who do I want to show? Well, it's the boys, of course. So if I want to focus majorly on the boys, I should probably use the lowest aperture possible, right? That will blur or at least weaken the background, and a lot of these lines in the foregrounds will also get softened. You could probably guess by now that because we can see a lot of the environment, it is probably not shot at f1.4. It must be some kind of a different aperture value. Let's go back to my objective here. What did I want to show? If I wanted to show just the boys, I would probably go with the wider aperture, but I wanted to show the whole scene. I wanted to show the boats at the front, and I also wanted to show the city behind and the boats that they're playing on. So since the image is showing different layers of depth, it must be a high value aperture, maybe f11 or f16. Well, f16 would make all of the planes of depth visually as clearly as possible, but that would also affect some of the sharpness of the image and perhaps bring the background and make it a little bit stronger. So I photographed this image at f8. And I'll tell you what was my decision process. I wanted the boats in the front, I wanted the boys, and I wanted a sense of place. I wanted to have the city visible, but didn't want to include more of it than needed. So for me, f8 was enough. It allowed enough depth without bringing too much attention to the city behind. I carefully controlled the amount of attention spent on each layer of depth. Most photographers, without really naming it, default to one of the three approaches. The first is complete isolation. You shoot at f1.2, maybe f1.8, with only one subject receiving the majority of attention. At these kind of low apertures, everything else than your subject steps aside, blurred into shapes and color with no competing details left to read. The second one is the opposite, total inclusion of everything, shooting from f11 and upwards, bringing the attention to everything in the frame, foreground, subject, background. They're all visible, all sharp, all demanding to be read as part of the same story. And the third one is optimal sharpness. Every lens has a range, usually somewhere around f5.6 to f7.1, where it's simply at its technical best. At these values, it's the sharpest with the least aberration and barely any diffraction. The main objective is sharpness. Now, none of these three is right or wrong on its own, but don't treat any of them as your default without understanding what it costs you. Isolation works when your subject can carry the frame alone. A strong gesture, an interesting face, a moment that doesn't need context to land. They will all work great with low apertures. Total inclusion works when the story is bigger than any of the person in it. It's when the relationship between your subject and everything around them is the actual point. And the sweet sharpness spot default works when you want that sharpness, when that sharpness is important to you in that particular scene. But I guess here is a good time to share something. Sharpness is kind of overrated. The most budget lenses of today, they're sharper than anything that was there last century, and yet there is plenty of good photography done with them. So let's forget about sharpness for now. It's the least important out of the three. About a year ago, I put out a video that became a real eye-opener for a lot of people who were used to shoot wide open by default. The idea was the composing really starts at f11. The shooting that way forces you to become more attentive to what actually happens in the scene. If you want to watch the full thing, I'll link it below. It goes deep into that concept with a lot of unpacking. But what turned out to be more interesting for me than the video itself was that what happened after it went out. I started getting messages from people. Some were genuinely excited, telling me that they switched to shooting everything at f11 from now on, and that it really opened their eyes about composition and scene development. But there was other group telling me that f11 is exactly where a lens starts hitting its technical limits, the diffraction sets in, and it starts softening the image. They were basically worried that the images are not going to be sharp enough. So here I have to admit something. f11 was never meant to be a literal setting. It was a way to illustrate a concept. And while I personally do shoot at f11 a lot, there is a wide and very useful range between f1.2 to f11 and further. Locking yourself into one of the extremes is the whole concept of using aperture to control attention. What the video was really about was context and about discipline, not a default setting. When you can't rely on blur to erase your mistakes, you are forced to actually look at everything in the frame. You look at where your subject is, where the background sits, whenever there is anything crossing your subject silhouette, does the context work? It was about learning to see beyond the subject and understanding that there is more to photograph than single subject with a blurred background. Those who took it as a permanent setting missed that the point was never about the number. It was what shooting at that number forces you to do with your composition. If you shoot at f11 or higher, you almost always need to make up for the loss of light somewhere else, usually pushing your ISO. I've had people sending me images shot at f11 and ISO 25600. Genuinely proud of nailing the depth of field without noticing that ISO was doing to their image. Every setting related to exposure you touch pulls over another exposure setting. Aperture never moves alone, and aperture is not a fixed setting. When you adjust it, you compromise. It buys you attention in one spot and costs you attention in another spot. If you move from f1.2 to f5.6, you compromise how completely your subject dominates the attention. But you win context. More of the scene stays visible, more of the story around your subject gets to exist in the frame with them. If you move from f11 to f4, you compromise the context and the sharpness of the whole scene, but you will win focus. More of the viewer's attention gets directed onto your subject and less gets spilled onto everything around them. Sometimes all you need is to weaken the environment, not completely exclude it. They're all different traits. The only question worth asking before you turn that dial is, what are you trying to say with the frame? What is your intention? I want to show you a few photographs that might have some strange aperture decisions, but I'll explain the reasoning. I have this railroad photo shot at f1.4. This is something that many photographers would shoot at much higher aperture. The reason I chose lower aperture were the following. The first one was that my focus point was very far. I was focusing on the person in the middle that made the depth of field large enough to get everything else in the scene into relative sharpness. And the second one was the strong geometry. It was just too strong, so I wanted a little bit of softness with all these shapes. The f1.4 gave me that a bit softer look to otherwise very edgy composition. Next one. This gentleman with his cart was also shot at f1.4. I wanted to have a feeling of the surrounding area. I didn't want to have the bushes, leaves around sharp or having every little stone visible. All these little areas of sharpness are reducing the harmonious feeling of the image. I wanted sharpness at my subject, but I wanted him wrapped in softness. So here I used exactly the same trick to soften the environment. I went lower in aperture. The goal wasn't to blur the environment completely, just soften it. Here I'm photographing at f4. I wanted to capture the sleeping boy, the woman working around him, and having the visible shape of the other sleeping people on the roof. But I still wanted to keep the majority of the attention on the boy. If I had photographed this image at f8, for example, it would have sharpened a lot of the small background details and spilled the attention unnecessarily backwards. If I have used f1.4, it would have just focused on the boy. I wanted the environment to be present, but not so strong. Therefore, f4 worked just fine here. In my composition course, I talk a lot about the hero, the one subject in your frame that should carry the weight of the story, with everyone and everything else supporting rather than competing. And depth of field is by wide margin the single most common way photographers assign the hero status with. Isolate your subject with a wide aperture and you will make the decision for the viewer before they even had a chance to look around the frame. There is no competition for attention because you have removed everything else from the attention entirely. But hero status doesn't always have to be won this way. Sometimes a closed aperture doesn't undermine the hero at all. It adds the supporting cast around them, just like the woman and the environment around the sleeping boy, the other participants who help the story make more sense. That's the real reason why aperture matters so much, and it's more than a technical settings. It's a decision about who gets to be the hero of your frame and how much of the rest of the world you let stay in the picture with them. It's worth noticing that these two tools, hero and environment, are really the same idea looked at from different angles. The hero concept asks who should own the frame. The environment is establishing the context. And aperture is simply the fastest tool that helps you move that attention on the field. It is faster than repositioning, faster than waiting for a better background, faster than almost anything else available to you in a fleeting street moment. You'll probably ask, but how do you decide the aperture in the field? So here are a few little things that will help you to do so. One of the first decision factors is light. If the light is not right, we might not be able to see the rest properly. We simply need to expose the image first. So if there's too much light, if we shoot on a bright day, an open aperture might not be an option at all. There is a chance that the shutter speed reaches its higher limits and you couldn't technically use a wide aperture. If you do, you would simply overexpose. That leaves you with two options. First one is to use ND filter and the second is to close the aperture down. Often, adjusting the aperture is simply the quicker choice. This photograph was shot at f8 and 1 to 1000 of a second. I kept the highlights under control, underexposing slightly on purpose to match the mood I was after. Similarly, when there is not enough light, a closed aperture simply won't work. You can of course raise your ISO or slow your shutter, but often opening the aperture is the better trade. This one is shot at f1.4. It was around 4 am in the morning and the only light source was a single bare bulb. Shooting with a wide aperture was the better decision. A closed aperture keeps both your foreground, subject and your background in relative focus, which is useful for scenes where the entire street and everyone in it is part of what you're trying to say. You want the viewer to spend attention across the whole frame on purpose. This is shot with a 35mm lens at f11. Shooting this scene with an open aperture would disconnect my subject from everyone around him, and the story would have felt completely different, like he was dancing alone instead of a part of that wider scene he was actually part of. Sometimes the effect you're after isn't about depth of field at all, it's about motion blur. And motion blur photos are tricky. You almost always need to go extreme low on shutter speeds. That allows more light to enter the sensor, so you technically have to compensate with aperture. So if you're trying to work with motion blurring during the day, most likely you will have to close the aperture a lot. This is additional reminder that aperture is not only about depth of field. Sometimes you're reaching for it purely because your creative idea or the exposure settings demand it. Background for me is one of the most important reasons to change my aperture. You should always think about how much power you want to give to the background. Will you let all of it to be visible? Will you give a sense of it, or you will illuminate its presence completely? A wider aperture changes the background from out of focus to just being weaker. It helps you keeping your attention on your subject, and how strong the effect will be is something that you should decide. So again, not f1.2 or f16. There is a lot in between. It is common to have more than one potential subject in a scene. A wider aperture lets you assign importance to one of them deliberately. You focus on one that matters more and let the shallow depth of field weaken the competition from the other one. And there's these situations where there is a little difference between f4 and f11, and we need to recognize this as well. For example, if you're photographing something like a detail shot, not a macro, just someone's hands, f4 or f5.6 would usually be enough. There's no point in going higher. It will give you nothing. It's very similar if your photograph has no depth. Let's say someone is standing close to a wall. Low and high aperture would look almost identical. There is no need to shoot with f11 for someone standing near a wall. f4 would usually be enough. At the end, aperture was never a technical checkbox. It's the tool you use to decide how much of your viewer attention goes where. There is no correct answer sitting at f1.2, f5.6 or f11. There's only the question worth asking before you pressing the shutter. Where the attention goes, what is important there, and how do I treat the rest? Of course, there are the technical limitations, but this is the key purpose. Allocate attention. I hope it was helpful. If there are some unanswered questions here, ask them in the comments and have a happy shooting. See you next time.